Welcome to FAR 432 Video Production, Module 8, Kinds of Formats, Part 2, Different Ways to Tell a Story Through Video. This time we'll focus on a more general spread of kinds of videos. The last ones we looked at were basically truth and reality oriented. The ones we'll look at this time are more of a general nature and less of an emphasis on that element of truth and reality. If you look at the handout that I provided, and you should have gotten by email, but you can also see it here, and you'll see it on the screen. There are another 6 formats that we'll be looking at here. These are general types, and we'll start with the first one now. The first one is, in this page, is the demonstration. If you read what it says the purpose of this format is to show how something is made or how something is done. Good examples of this are cooking shows, house building programs, how to operate a piece of machinery, and so forth. I'll show you a few examples in my little montage. As I mentioned, cooking shows. This is a great format for doing this. People love to see cooking shows. It's very popular. Food Network is very popular. There are also programs on how to exercise or on how to build a building. So the demonstration format is an excellent one to use. So if you want to do that for your final production, that's an excellent idea. I like cooking shows. I would like to talk with you about it before you try to do it, to give you some ideas. I might remind you, we talked about cheating before. One of the classic ways of cheating, what do you think that is in cooking shows? Well, the classic cooking trick cheat is that they always cook the meal in advance and have the prepared dish ready and perfect. Even though they may go through the motions, they basically still want the show to be a success, and the best way to make it a success is to make sure that the dish that you're preparing is perfect and is going to be right. Even though you're showing the various elements, you want to make sure that that dish is perfect and that it is going to be what you want it to be. So the demonstration is an excellent one to think about doing, and as I say, if you have any interest in doing this, I've had students that demonstrated how to do construction work, and I've had some do cooking shows, and some showing various exercises that they wanted their students to do. I had a coach do that. So a demonstration is an excellent format for this. The next format we're going to discuss is the interview. This format is shot in the form of a host and a guest. That's the key thing to remember with interview, is host and guest. Through the appropriate questions, the host helps reveal the thoughts, actions, motivations, etc. of a guest. And this may seem rather simplistic, but actually it takes a tremendous amount of skill to be a good host, and there are not that many that can do it. That's why the ones that do it, a good example would be Oprah Winfrey or some of the other kinds of host and guest shows. They are experts at being able to get people to spill their guts. What you don't want in a host and guest situation is for the guest to give you flat, dead answers, yes, no. You want them really to open up and to tell interesting details about what they're doing and so forth. I'll make myself disappear here. It can be done in the field. You can do a host and guest kind of a thing where you go out to the subject, and that's what you see in this situation. It can also be done in a studio kind of radio kind of scenario. That's often done. Larry King Live is almost like that. Or it can be done in a typical studio setting. If you're interested in doing this, I'd be happy to discuss with you certain techniques. There are a number of different ways to handle this, and sometimes people do over-the-shoulder types of formats. This is the classic 60 Minutes. 60 Minutes was famous for doing this because they would shoot with one camera, and what they would do is they'd shoot the same interview in two parts. They'd do it twice, and they'd shoot the real questions once, and then they'd shoot the reaction shots of the interviewer, and then edit the two together. We used to call that the 60 Minutes two-step. It actually is a very common practice in interviews and in investigative news types of interviewing scenarios. But if you want to do interviewing, it's a good format to use, but I'd like to discuss with you in detail some of the things you might want to look for when you do it. The next format we're going to talk about is the magazine format. This format takes related stories and breaks them down into short feature stories, usually 3 to 5 minutes long. It could be as long as 15 minutes if the story is big and controversial. For instance, the original O.J. Simpson trial, Saddam Hussein, and more recently, Barack Obama being elected president, his family. All of these things are very popular for the popular magazine shows. The longest standing news magazine show on TV is 60 Minutes. But there are plenty of other good ones. Entertainment Tonight is a entertainment magazine. The key thing is that it breaks things down into small, bite-sized feature stories, usually 3 to 5 minutes long, and can be about any kind of subject. It's a lot more doable than the documentary, although there are elements that seem like a documentary. It seems like a little mini documentary that they might be doing. And I'm going to show you an example of a fictitious magazine that might be a sample of what you might want to do for your final production. So I'm going to disappear here, and this one could be about New Orleans, food and culture magazine. You would have maybe a feature story on New Orleans food. Another one might focus on New Orleans festivals. And another might be focusing on music. All of these are potential elements for what you could put together as a magazine. And the beauty of that is that the magazine format leaves a lot of room for more episodes. And of course, if you're going to be doing an episodic series of productions, this is a great format to use. If you have multiple people, you could literally have one person who does nothing but focus on food, another one who focuses nothing but on culture, another one exclusively on locations and activities and festivals and so forth. And in most of the magazines, they would usually end up with something light and entertaining so that you leave your audience with a happy feeling. In 60 Minutes, they usually always end with Andy Rooney doing kind of a comical view of some subject. Many magazines will do the same thing. They might end with music because people will go out with a song in their heart, so to speak. If you want to do this for a final production, what I would suggest is that you invent a fictitious magazine and present one episode that would be 3 to 5 minutes long, looking at one function or one focus within the magazine format that you want to look at. So if you were to do a New Orleans magazine, you could do that as your intro cover, but then actually just do one feature episode, which would be 3 to 5 minutes long, focusing on, let's say, food or focusing on culture or whatever. In previous productions my students have done, one of my students interviewed as their feature story one of the former kings of Zulu. So This kind of thing is very versatile. A magazine format is an excellent format production. There's lots of place for these kinds of shows, particularly on access television. I would recommend this as one format to go with because it leaves a lot of room for creativity, doesn't require the in-depth that the documentary does, and gives you lots of opportunity to be creative in short, small bursts. The next format we're going to talk about is the variety format. This could be particularly useful for someone in a school setting or some other kind of group institution that you would have because usually when you have large groups of people you have a good variety of talents that can be offered, and so if you read what it says, this format usually features several different kinds of performing arts like singing, dancing, poetry, dramatic excerpts, movie clips, etc. It is often used to promote sales of products or other kinds of promotion. In the original TV series variety shows, you had a number of different ones. I'm going to show them a little montage of images here. You had programs and have programs like the Apollo, the Ted Mack Amateur Hour a long time ago, the Ed Sullivan Show for old folks out there. The key thing about the variety is that it takes advantage of a large talent base. If you were a teacher at a school, putting together a variety show would be a great opportunity. If you have kids that can sing, kids that can act, do poetry, that may have gone out and done video clips, that would be a good format to present them. Also, if you're trying to promote a product, perhaps you're trying to promote a charity or some other things, this particular format would provide entertainment while you're actually doing fundraising. So it's a good form of promotion. In the old days, they used to do it to sell commercial products, and oftentimes they would actually name the show after the particular product. But nowadays, it would be an excellent opportunity to take advantage of your talent base. This could also be good for social workers if they were dealing with homes for nursing homes for the geriatric care, because there are a lot of talented older retired citizens that might have performing skills that you could put together into a show that would be fun for all of them to do. It could be good for any number of different formats of things like that where you have groups of people. It could be a corporate thing where you take advantage of your corporate talent. It would be kind of fun. It's a light way of bringing together entertaining elements that your own people can provide. The next format we're going to look at here is animation. We all have seen animation, but now, because you're studying video production, you're going to understand, hopefully, better the concept of what it's about. Animation, as it says in the written part here, this format represents pure tertiary motion. It is the complete illusion of motion through editing. It is accomplished by a sequence of slightly modified images strung together and played back in full motion. Animation is often thought of as mainly cartoons, but it can be used for demonstrations, for simulations, and so forth. Animation is a very powerful tool. I certainly invite you to do that for a final. I like animation. I'm going to show you some examples here. You should also note that PowerPoint provides a lot of animations, and it provides you an opportunity to do some animations. I'm going to show you here. These are some of the GIFs that I pulled in. These are animated GIFs that you can get off of PowerPoint. Now, this is one that I did in the classroom. This one is of a mannequin kind of doll, a modeling doll, which you shoot one shot, you move the arm a little bit, and then move it, and then string them together. All these motions that you're seeing there were done over the period of a matter of several minutes of moving each little part a little bit at a time to get that effect. So, and it's fairly easy to do. You basically start the camera, stop it, move the thing a little bit, start the camera, stop it, and then when you play it back, it plays back fast, and you get the result that you see here in this particular instance. As an example of a kind of primitive animation that you can do with PowerPoint, I've taken and animated a face very quickly. What I did is I strung together a variety of commands here in the custom animation slot under slideshow. You go through and you take each item and you tell it to do a particular thing, usually after or with the previous element. In order to get them, if you're getting two things to work together, you do with. If you get one thing after another, you do after. And if you want to learn more about this, I can show you how to do it. I'm now going to show you it in action. As I say, it's fairly primitive, but it's kind of cute. And these are elements available on PowerPoint, and you can make the elements move, like making the eyes move. In this situation, the person goes to sleep, and I had a little problem getting the eyelashes to go, but then I had a little snoring at the end. So this is an example of very basic animation that you can do with PowerPoint. The last format we're going to talk about in this episode is animatics. I really like this format. It's something that is very approachable. It's doable on a low budget. If you read what it says, this format uses still images or photos strung together with sounds and or narration. It can be greatly enhanced with, and primarily animatics gets its excitement from being primarily a form of secondary motion emphasis. Basically, you use a camera to scan a still picture or a still object, and you create the effect of motion by moving the camera. In animation, it was pure tertiary motion. It was purely a matter of the editing. But in the case of animatics, you literally move the camera, just like I can move the camera here. By moving the camera across a still image, you can create the illusion that you were actually scanning a real scenario. And I'm going to show you some examples. You can also use things like zooming in and zooming out. And this has been a very powerful tool in the industry. You see a lot of animatics. I'm going to disappear here, and here's my little montage where you see a series of different images that are still, but because the camera, in this case, is supposed to be simulating zooming going on, it allows you to focus on things. But another thing is that you can literally zoom into elements and then scan across, and you can see on here I'm using this little box to show you how an image could be scanned and then zoomed out from to focus on particular characters. This can also be done with family members, and if you look at this picture here, you can see how close-ups could be taken out of this group shot and then zoomed out from. So this is something that you could do with your camera. The importance of this, and particularly one of the things I think is especially important with animatics, and I've had a number of students do this, is that you can basically have you can take your family albums and you can convert them to an animatics production. I've had a number of students do that, where you literally take maybe 100 of your family album pictures and you scan them. The beauty of it is that the pictures might actually be fairly small, and I'll simulate that. But when you blow them up to a large size, you can see details that you wouldn't normally see. And so the idea of taking a small picture and producing it into a film can be very exciting. I've had a number of students tell me that they thought that they had never seen details of pictures, but when they were blown up into an animatics format and scanned with a camera, they saw things they never had seen before. Another nice thing about taking family albums and doing animatics scans of images is that it is a cheap way to preserve your family albums. I had a number of students who had everything in their house destroyed, but because they had produced an animatics of their family album or their wedding albums, they had them on DVD as a result of our production, and because of it, they were the only things left after the storm, and so they're very happy about that. The other nice thing is that for Christmas gifts, DVDs can be easily copied. I can show you how to do them. I can set them up for you. And a DVD costs maybe about $1 a copy. So for $1 you could copy hundreds of dollars worth of photographs in digital form, and of course once they're in the digital form they can then be sent by email, they can be printed again in larger formats. So you literally have a wonderful resource when you convert family albums or other photo collections, scrapbooks, into an animatics format. So animatics is a wonderful tool. I highly recommend it, and I invite you to look at that as one of the formats for a final production. This concludes Part 2 of Module 8, Part 2, Kinds of Formats, Different Ways to Tell a Story Through Video. We'll pick up on the last part of the kinds of formats in Module 9. See you then.